I'm somewhere in the middle, try to find myself again.
Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 2. I'm literally recording this on a Sunday, and it is so cold in Cape Town. It's crazy. Yesterday it was raining like the entire day. I was freezing my ass off. Like, I don't know what's up with this weather, but it's like, I guess it's Cape Town. Like, I don't know why I complain about the weather. Like, I've been living in this city for like almost 3 years. Like, at this point, I should just know that there's like 4 seasons in like 1 week. So, yeah. Didn't mean to start talking about the weather, but I'm like under 3 blankets on my couch recording this. So I just thought I'd mention it, I guess. So, very excited. This is episode 2. The first episode I was really proud of. It's a bit all over the place, I acknowledge that. And I kind of go in circles, but I think I'm working on it. My whole idea for this podcast was to kind of just do a train of thought situation. So I think over the span of like a couple of episodes, I'll find my groove and we will get more into it. So today I wanted to do a kind of like a story time situation because I have a very fun personality. I like making jokes and I have some crazy stories to tell. So I thought like episode 2 perfect to kick it off with. So yeah, if you are here from episode 1, or if this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, welcome. Subscribe, follow on whatever platform you are. And we're just going to jump straight into the story without any further small talk. So I'm going to talk about one of the craziest nights I've ever had out in Cape Town. Now, I'm not a very big like club person. When I talk about nights out, I don't talk about nights out. I prefer having nights in, as in partying at my house, like drinking at my house, all of that. Just to clarify, I am 22, so that I'm legal. You know, it's not like I'm like 17 or something. So I am allowed to drink, and I did like to indulge. But majority of the time I try to like stay home and have all of these crazy nights at home where I just felt safer, I guess, and then also with like a group of people that I really got along with. Usually it was my family because my family's wild. And we do like a good party. We do like a good dance party. So, yeah. But when I moved to Cape Town, I did kind of explore the streets. You know, I did kind of dabble in a bit of long street shenanigans, I guess. It was fun at the time. Looking back on it, I'm like, are you crazy? Like, are you actually crazy? But yeah, I had my fair share of nights in Long Street, which, like, Long Street, you have to do it when you first move to Cape Town because everyone talks about it. But after after going out like 3 times, like, I was just like, I'm done with this place. Like, it's not as good. It's crazy. But anyways, let's get into this crazy night. So I need to start off by saying that this night was not planned. Like, the friend I went with, we walked out of class, and I think my class finished at around like 6, and she messaged me and she's like, hey, let's go out. And I was not in the mood to go out. So I was like, no, let's rather just stay at home. And she was like, no, we have to go out. And eventually I kind of caved in, but I was like, hey, I have nothing to wear. And what I mean by I had nothing to wear was because I'm not the club type, I didn't have like those club outfits, if that's a thing. But like my wardrobe is mainly like jeans and a t-shirt, and I was like, I don't think that's what we're going for tonight. So we ended up going to the mall at like 6. Shops were closing at 7. So we had like an hour to run through like Zara, H&M, Mr. Price. Like we went through all of them, ended up finding an outfit, ended up rushing home, getting ready. We ordered McDonald's because by this point we had not eaten anything since, well, I hadn't eaten anything since like the early afternoon. And I don't know about her, but we ended up getting McDonald's as we were kind of preparing. Funny story, I actually got a dress and the dress didn't fit. It didn't it didn't fit. So we ended up turning the dress into a shirt. And it was crazy. Like that night was hectic. We ended up making it out of the house at like 8 maybe. So we're in the Uber going to Long Street, and we kind of meet up with this group of girls. We're in this new place because one of the girls was like a promoter, and I was like, okay. So we end up going to this place with this girl, and we're getting like free booze and things. And I'm not a vodka person. I'm also not a Red Bull person. And that was what we got. And I was like, well, it's free, so let me shut my mouth and just drink this. So I drink my vodka and Red Bull, and I'm kind of starting to regret it, but we're moving, right? It's not really a vibe. The place is kind of dead. It was a new place, and it wasn't like on Long Street. It was kind of like in one of those very sketchy side alleys. And yeah, so we're there for probably like an hour or so. And then we ended up leaving, and some of the girls went to like one place, but me and my friend were like, no, we're going down the road to that place that sells shots for like $13. So we end up going to that place, and that was the first time I was sober enough to realize that they had definitely diluted this shot. Because I think we ended up ordering like a vodka something, and when I tell you that thing did taste like vodka mixed with water, and I was very proud because the previous time we had gone there, we had shots, and clearly I was very drunk because I did not realize how diluted it was. But this time around, sober enough, realized, oh, okay, no, this is definitely diluted. Like, this is not straight vodka. But we move on, I guess. We end up going to this place because we kind of want to get food. Because, yeah, we had eaten McDonald's, but we were, like, drinking a lot at the time. And, like, a 6-piece McNugget is not going to get you very far. So we go to this place. We ask them, or we actually end up ordering cocktails first. And I think I ended up getting I don't know if I ended up getting a margarita, whatever I got. But it was clean tequila. Like, it was clean tequila with maybe 2 drops of lime juice. Like, that thing nearly put me out. It nearly made me puke. I told my friend, like, please taste this cocktail. She took a sip and she coughed, nearly passed out, because it was straight up tequila. And I was like, well, I don't mind it because for the price, it was like relatively okay for like a glass of clean tequila. So I was like, I'll take it. We end up asking our waiter for appetizers that we could share because we didn't really want to eat something big. We just wanted something small to share. So we didn't end up really looking at the menu. We did look at the menu, I guess, but like we didn't really see anything. So we ended up asking the waiter for suggestions of like something to share. this lady looked us straight in the face, and she started to explain to us that this place has this thing that you can share, and it's a whole, like, lamb leg. Yeah, you heard me correctly. It's a whole lamb leg that you could, like, share. And we looked at each other, me and my friend, and we were like, I don't think she understood what we said. But we were like, okay, thank you, we'll think about it. And at that point, we were like, this is not happening. So we ended up just kind of telling her, like, okay, no, this is not going to work. And we ended up getting ice cream, because they did have ice cream. So we ended up getting ice cream, and then I swallowed that tequila, and we got out of there. We then kind of walked to this other club. I'm not going to say the names of the clubs because, I don't really want to start any drama, I guess. We end up going to this other club, and I finally order a gin and tonic, which is my go-to drink whenever I go out. So I order a gin and tonic, and when I get the bill, I again nearly pass out. And this time, not from alcohol, but from pure shock. Because this, gin and tonic ended up costing me, 68 rand. Guys, I have dyslexia, so it's hard sometimes. 68 rand for a whole gin and tonic. I nearly passed out. I was like, no. But I ended up paying it because, I had already taken a sip at this point, and, I don't think you could give it back. But me and my friend have our gin and tonics. We do our thing. We kind of stand around. It was a vibe, but there was just too many people. And we were just kind of doing our thing. Next thing we know, one of the kind of bouncers that was, inside of the club taps up door. I don't know if he tapped my friend on the shoulder, and he was like, hey, these guys want you to join them. And I don't know much about, like I said, club life, because it's not really something I do every single weekend. But we end up going over to them, and they again have this bucket of vodka and Red Bull, and immediately I'm like, oh no, I need to get out. This is not happening. But we sit down because I'm a very polite person at the time. Again, anxiety, people pleaser, very bad combination on a night out when you're in South Africa and you kind of need to kind of say no a lot of the time. So we sit down, we start having a conversation with these guys. This one guy is on TikTok, and he's showing me his TikToks, and I'm like, perfect, I'm very glad, happy for you. And there's just no conversation going on. And I do understand that the music's really, really loud. But if you invite us to join you and then we just sit around and look at each other and look around, that's awkward as hell. And I was sitting there looking at my friend being like, when are we going to get up and leave? Because this is kind of awkward at this point. But my friend is she's getting a conversation going with this guy. And I'm like, well, if my friend wants to get with this guy, I'm going to be supportive. I'm not going to ruin her night for her. So we end up just kind of sitting there. This guy's talking about his TikToks. And I'm like, I'm very happy for you. My friend's having a good conversation with the other guy eventually. So kind of stick around there. Eventually, I think the club was closing or something, so we end up getting in one of the guys' cars, which by this point you could tell I was intoxicated as hell, because once my gin and tonic finished, they started feeding me Red Bull and vodka once again, and I can handle alcohol. I'm pretty good when it comes to that, but I think I was just overdoing it this night. But when they started offering me alcohol, I was at a point where I think I could kind of still give proper consent but we were getting to the point of like no return at this stage. My friend, on the other hand, didn't drink as much as I had, so I was like, okay, no, I have trust in her. And we had this whole talk at the beginning, like, oh, we're gonna look out for each other and everything. So we're good. We get in this guy's car, which don't, because this man was drinking. And like, yeah, just don't. Just think about it. Get an Uber, but clearly, like, half my brain cells were out the door by this point. So we get in the car, we end up going to a club or whatever. I think it's like near the waterfront or something. It's definitely the more expensive area of Cape Town. Like, it wasn't in Long Street, more like expensive place. But we go there, these guys are like, oh, what do you want? And we're like, oh, gin and tonic. So they're going to the bar, ordering us gin and tonic. We're drinking it like no one's business. And we're sitting there having a good time, looking around, chatting, talking. This point, I'm still kind of aware of my surroundings, I guess. Me and my friend go to the bathroom. And when I tell you that the reason I love women is because there is no one that hypes you up more than the stranger in the bathroom on a night out. Like, it was crazy. We ended up going to the bathroom and there was this lady like fixing her makeup and her hair and everything. And we were just hyping each other up. We were like, we are badass women. We deserve the best in life. Like, we're not gonna let any man treat us like crap. Like, it was a whole spiritual experience in the club bathroom, which, again, fun. We end up leaving again because, you know, you can't stay in the bathroom forever. But at this point, I had expressed to my friend, like, hey, I kind of want to go home because these guys are feeding us alcohol like no one's business. And I don't want to get to a point where I'm like blackout. So we start drinking our drinks a bit slower, but we're still enjoying the club. We're still looking around. And at one point, I look towards these like set of couches, and they're like red velvet couches, kind of giving strip club vibes, but it wasn't a strip club, I can confirm. But we we look over and there is this man. And when I say man, I mean grandfather. Like, he is definitely in his 70s, gray hair, wrinkles, like lying on his back on this couch, almost passed out. He has friends with him in the same age range, giving Hugh Hefner 100%. And me and my friend look at each other and we're like, what the hell are these men doing in a club like this? Like, we were so shocked, but we were like, okay, I guess, you know, whatever. I think I was also very naive at this point. I, like I said, didn't really know club life, so I didn't really know what to expect. But when I saw a 70-year-old man passed out in a club, that's when I was like, okay, we need to go home. Like, we need to go home. So we end up convincing these guys, like, okay, no, we want to leave. So we get in the car, we start driving home. This is now around like 4 a.m. Like, it is ridiculous at this point. 4 a.m, we're driving home. My friend says to one of the guys, hey, you've been feeding us a shit ton of alcohol. The least you can do is buy us food. So they end up going through KFC and we get a Boxmaster. At this point, I'm extremely chatty because when I'm drunk, I'm very chatty. We get home and as they park, like because she was staying over at my place, as they kind of park in front of my apartment building, the guy who's driving legit looks at the two of us, me and my friend, says to us, are we going like to my place to have sex, or do you guys really want to go home? And I remember being gobsmacked. Like, it was like I was stunned. I was speechless. I had no words. I did not know how to even react to that. All I knew was I looked over at my friend and I gave her that look that was like, we need to get the fuck out of here, because what the hell was that? So we're like, no, buddy, I'm very sorry, but we're gonna go. So we end up getting out and walking into my apartment building, being like, cheers. We're done. We're not dealing with that. And I did end up handing out my Instagram handle, because I did have Instagram at this point. I did end up handing out my Instagram handle to this guy, but kind of regretted it. Luckily, Instagram was private. So when he tried to follow me, or he sent me a follow request the next night at 11 p.m. Now, when a guy sends you a friend request or a message or a snap at 11 p.m. and it's a guy you kind of met at a club, no, he has one intention and one intention only. And I was like, first of all, dude, you don't even know, like, you know nothing about me. You, like, literally know nothing about me. I know a lot about you, because you were talking about, like, the TikToks you make and everything, but I don't know jack shit, or you don't know jack shit about me. And so I was like, other than that, like, we don't know each other at all. And I was like, I'm not that type of person, I'm very sorry. So I just ended up deleting his request and kind of moved on from that. And yeah, that was the crazy night. I woke up the next morning and I regretted my existence. I scarfed down a Boxmaster the next day like no one's business. And yeah, but I was taken out for the entire weekend. Like, I think I only became a functional human being again on the next Monday, which is kind of crazy because, like, this also happened during the semester. Like, we were not on holiday. We did not have a vac week. This was just happening on one random Friday. And I still had class the next week. I think I also had an assignment that was due at some point. Like, life was crazy. And as a law student, you can't really party yourself into a situation where you're, like, taken out for an entire weekend, because you're always behind. You always have work to do. So it's a bit, what's the word? Like, it's a bit irresponsible, I guess, to get so drunk that you're, like, out for an entire weekend. But clearly at this point, I haven't learned my lesson. After that day, or after that night, I definitely learned my lesson. And I haven't had any crazy nights like that again. But I do have some Longstreet special mentions, I guess. One time, we ended up going to Longstreet, and we kind of just wanted to go out for dinner and drinks. We got there at around 8 and our plan was to leave by 10. We weren't really there for the craziness of the night. So we arrived, we ate something, I think we had like pizza or something, and then we started making our way down to the 13 Rand shooter place. As like a last stop for the night. We got there, and as we were kind of walking back, trying to figure out like where we're gonna go get an Uber, we just see police sirens, we see police flashing lights, like it's going down. And we kind of like walk a bit closer, like, oh, what's happening? Because, you know, that's what people do. They always want to like know what's happening. And I kid you not, there was a naked man not wearing one piece of clothing, running down Long Street, having the time of his life, and you just had police officers chasing after him. And when I tell you, like, that was one of my best experiences in Cape Town. It was so funny. I think a lot of the time you just see, like, when you see police videos, it's usually not great. It's usually, kind of not good. And this time around, I was just watching police officers chase a naked man down the street. And I was like, that's funny. That's really, really funny. And I had a great time. Made my night, actually. And yeah, I haven't had like crazy experiences other than like those 2 nights, I guess, in Long Street. I have had like other nights, but it wasn't as intense as like that one night and then that event happening. But back in Pretoria, I will admit, I never really got approached or got hit on by guys. I think I'm not like conventionally attractive. I'm not like a model. So I didn't really get hit on by guys. But here in Cape Town, like every single time I went out, there was at least one guy that hit on me. And at first I was like, oh my goodness, like, oh, look at me, I'm so happy. And then like the third time it happened, I was like, actually, these men, I'm not attracted to them. And they just kind of want my number for one thing. So yeah, no. Because they approached me like really, really drunk and, kind of like touchy-feely. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Not really into that. Gonna go. A very funny thing that happened to me was one day I went grocery shopping. Not really grocery shopping. I was kind of just getting stuff to make dinner for myself on like a Friday night. And I parked my car in the basement of the mall. And I walked up to Checkers and I kind of just got the things I wanted. And I looked like shit. I looked like utter crap. I was actually wearing leggings. I was wearing an oversized hoodie that said UCT on it. My hair was a mess. Like, I didn't have any makeup on. I don't even think I did my skincare routine. Like, it was a bad day, okay? Law school had put me through a lot. UCT was showing me flames. And I was just kind of going through a lot, okay? I literally just wanted to get food. So I purchased my things. I go back to my car, put them in my car. And as I reverse out of my parking spot, this man comes up to me and kind of looks at me like he wants to talk to me. So I roll down my window, not all the way because this is South Africa. Roll down my window. He looks at me and says to me, "Hi, I saw you in Checkers and I thought you were like really attractive. You're really pretty. Like, you're so beautiful. And I had to follow you and just get your number, or ask for your number." And I just remember, like, I got scared. Like, this man had been kind of stalking me from Checkers all the way down to the basement to my car. And I had taken the lift and he was not in the lift. So I was like, if you think I'm going to give you my number after you told me that you had been following me since you saw me in Checkers, you're kind of lying. You're kind of crazy. So I essentially say to this man, like, I'm not comfortable with that 100%. He then looks me dead in the face and he goes, "Okay, can I have your Facebook then?" And I just remember thinking to myself, like, who the fuck has Facebook? Like, I'm sorry. I had Facebook in like 2013, but like, I don't use Facebook anymore. But I ended up giving him my Facebook name and, whatever. Which, now that I think about it, was probably the biggest mistake, because literally Facebook has everything about me on it. It has like my name, my surname, where I went to school, like where I lived, all of that. And I was like, you're crazy for doing that, first of all. Like, you didn't want to give him your number, but you were comfortable giving him your Facebook? Like, I don't know where my logic was, but anyways. So, again, he sent me a friend request the next night. And like the middle of the night. And I'm like, these guys are exposing themselves by the times that they decide to send you these requests. Because if you're sending me these requests in the middle of the night, what are you doing in the middle of the night thinking about a stranger you stalked in Checkers? Like, I'm sorry. But yeah, so it was just crazy. But yeah, again, I didn't follow, or I didn't follow him, no, I didn't accept his, like, friend request. I kind of just left it, and I deleted it, and I moved on with my life, because I was like, these men, I can't deal. And a lot of the men, like, I was 21 when all of this was going down, like, out in Long Street, both times, and, this guy stopping me in the basement parking of Checkers. And both those times, these men were older than 30. Like, they were in their 30s. And I do have a story about an age gap situationship I was in when I was 20. But I had learned from that situation, and I was like, never again. And it's just chaotic to me how these, like, 30-something-year-old men are, like, so deeply interested and invested in a 21-year-old girl, you know? Like, okay, well, I can't really say much because I'm literally only a year older. But I was stupid. Like, you can tell from my Long Street story, I was clearly dumb. Like, I was clearly not very smart, and it's crazy how much you can, like, learn in a year. I'll accept that. But yeah, I was just not fine. And another thing is, I was kind of like going through this, I won't say a breakup, but I was in a vulnerable position in the sense of, like, I was still kind of hung up about the situationship I got out of with a man who was 8 years older than me the year, actually 2 years prior, I guess, because, yeah, like, yeah, it was just a situation, and maybe in my next episode I'll talk about that age gap situation, and it scarred me for life. But yet I kind of got off on the idea of, like, oh, these older men want me, so, you know, kind of as like a retaliation, or a kind of like, oh, like, look at these men, they want me, you know, kind of like in your face, towards this other guy who had crushed my heart into pieces. I don't know if that is making any sense. I'm trying to find a way to better communicate it, but words are escaping me at this point. But yeah, like I said, it was just kind of like icky how these men who are like in their 30s was so comfortable, like, you know, approaching a 21-year-old. And I don't lie about my age. I'm very upfront with my age. I tell men, oh, I'm 21, by the way, because I have been told that I look a lot older than my age, and because of that, I am very open or very forthcoming with how old I am. So I usually tell men within like the first 5 minutes of us meeting, like, oh, I'm 21 or I'm 22, or something. And again, this kind of just stemmed from a situation I got in high school when I was 16, and men kind of thought I was older and then kind of took some chances there. And me being the dumb 16-year-old that I was. You don't really know how wrong that is or how inappropriate that is. And now, as a 22-year-old, looking back, I'm like, that was messed up. Like, that was actually messed up. But when you're 16, you're like, oh, this is so flattering. Like, I'm mature for my age. Like, look at me. And then when you're like 22, you're like, actually, that was disgusting. That was gross. Like, men, the whole male gender. Like, what? So, and I think looking at South Africa as a whole and the fact that we have like gender-based violence, it's something that I think all of us can relate to. It's something we've all experienced. And it's a very sad reality. And it's crazy that every time us females and people in the LGBTQ community want to go out or want to go do something, we have to kind of think about the worst case scenario, and we have to kind of prepare for those worst case scenarios. Like when I go out with my friends now, like I share my Uber, you can share like your ride, not share your ride, but like share your ride with another person so that they can follow you. So I always share my ride with my mom so that she knows where I am all the time. And then luckily, again, I have very loving and supportive parents. So I usually call my mom and I'm like, hey, I'm going out for the night, but I'm going to be back at 12. Do you mind calling me at 12 just to make sure that I am home? And if I'm not home or I don't answer the phone, you call the police. And she's very nice about it. And she's done it a couple of times now where I say I'm going to be home at 12, and at 12 I get that phone call and she's like, hey, are you home? Are you safe? And I'm like, yes, I am. Thank you so much. And, then you kind of think like, why is the world like this? Like, why do I have to do this? It's just so unfair. But it's just the reality of the situation. And when I was talking to some of the people that I'm working with, we're kind of, I don't know exactly what to call it, but we're kind of facilitating a course on gender-based violence. And I was talking to the group of facilitators in the meeting, and I'm like, it's so horrible to me that because of load shedding, because of pala, because of this whole political craziness going on at the moment, the important conversations that we as South Africans should be having are just non-existent. Like, it's nowhere in the news. No one's talking about it. It's just kind of faded away. Like, no one is having an active conversation about gender-based violence in the big media corporations. No one is writing op-eds about this situation. There's not an active conversation going on at the moment. And it's crazy because when are we going to have this conversation again? When are we going to talk about these issues again? Oh, I know. It's when another murder happens. It's when another crazy case happens. Like, it's just ridiculous to me. And then, it's something I can get so angry over. And I know I said the tone of this podcast was going to be fun and talking about my crazy night in Long Street, but it's kind of tied together with that and kind of looking at what the men said to us in the car when they were dropping us home. And I remember saying to my friend, is that the reason why they were being so nice to us the entire night? Why they were, just being genuinely nice people, buying us drinks and everything? It was all to get in our pants. Like, it wasn't just being nice because being nice is nice. it was, oh, we're being nice to you because we want something from you. And it just blows my mind. And like I said, whenever we go out, you always have to prepare for the worst. You always have to put these measures in place, be cautious, all of those things. And it's ridiculous that, in a day and age like now, we still have to go through this. We still have to have these conversations. And as horrible as it is to talk about it and to hear about it, I still think it's a conversation we need to keep alive. It's a conversation that we need to keep on having, because it's just not going to end. It's not getting better, and it's just not being addressed by our government and our politicians the way it should be. This is our main crisis in this country at the moment. Like, I can live without electricity for 4 hours a day if it means that I don't have to fear for my life as a woman every day when I exit my home. I think we can all agree on that. But clearly not the government. But I don't want to make this a political podcast. I kind of want to steer away from politics, but I think that is a matter we kind of can all agree on, and that's why I feel very comfortable addressing it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. This was episode 2. I'm really loving it at the moment, and yeah, thank you for all the support so far. And we're just going to continue building this community. And yeah, it's going to be a great time. Leave a comment, or if you're listening on Spotify or Amazon Music or wherever else you're listening to this, give it a like, rated 5 stars, whatever you have to do. I'd really appreciate it. And subscribe, join the community. You can also find me on TikTok and YouTube, and all of that. So yeah. And again, I've gotten some very nice comments on TikTok about the small clips I post on there. And it was wonderful because in episode 1, I spoke about kind of experiencing loneliness in Cape Town and kind of the false ideas social media gave me of what Cape Town was going to be like. And a lot of people related and commented. And yeah, I just really appreciated. And if you got this far, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And join us in the next episode, which will probably be out in a week. And yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and we will talk soon. If you have any ideas or any topics you want me to talk about next week, leave them in the comments, or leave them on TikTok somewhere, and we will chat then. Thanks, guys. Bye.